Hello students, welcome to online classes of Geography of class 9. This is my fifth class for chapter number 3, Drainage. The topic that I'm going to discuss today are lakes, classification of lakes, benefits of lake, importance of river system, what is the role of rivers in economy, what are the causes of river pollution, and NRCP. That means that is conservation of river, that is National River Conservation Program. Its feature. Now let us proceed with the first topic, that is lake. What do you mean by the term lake? What is actually lake? You can see a blue color that is indicating over here. It is a map, it is a topographical map, and over there area is being bounded with that is a blue color that is indicating a feature, that is lake. So what is lake? It is an enclosed basin. You can see it's an enclosed basin, but which can trap standing water. That means it's a stagnant water. It doesn't have any sorts of tides. It's stagnant water. Okay. Another water, what we can say, it can be a fresh or a salt water. That means the water can be fresh, the water can be saline, and considerable size, that is surrounded by land. You can see it is surrounded by the land and it's having a considerable size. Or in other words, on earth a body of water is considered a lake when it is inland, not a part of an ocean. That means just best example of lake in our district is Sahib Bandh. It is one of the important or one of the very much popular lake of our district, that is Sahib Bandh. So it does not have any connectivity with ocean. It is a standing water. It has trapped a water. It is basically the precipitated water and is larger and deeper than a pond. It is Sahib Bandh. We say it's a bandh, but actually here it is a lake. It is a lake. Pond is comparatively smaller in size and less deeper, but the lake are larger in stretch and it is deeper. So in our district, the best example I that gave is a Sahib Bandh. So hopefully now the definition of a lake is clear to everybody. Now let us move to the classification of the lake. Now lakes are classified on the basis of the way it is formed. If it is formed naturally, then we term it as a natural lake. Now, under the natural lake, it is already we are having two types of water that I already explained or I discussed at the time of definition. That is freshwater lake and saltwater lake. That is saline lake. Now, let us proceed with the classification of the freshwater lake. Now, the lake that is having water throughout the year, that is perennial lake, and when the water reduces, that is non-perennial lake. Now the perennial lakes are of basically three types. Denudational origin. Now when we are getting both the work, erosional and depositional work is going on when the river is flowing through a meandering or river attains the meandering stage, that is in the mature stage. At that time, the cutoff loop from that meandering gives a formation of a lake, and that is Oxbow Lake. And one example is Purbasthali, which is there in the Bardhaman district of West Bengal. Now, glaciated origin. You can see that circular, semicircular structure, sea-like structure, that is a cutoff from the main meandering, that is Oxbow Lake. Now you can see it's going on as a meandering of a river, and when this loop is being cut off, we get a structure that is Oxbow Lake. Now next it is glaciated origin. Now the glaciated origin means when a depression between the two mountainous track is filled up by the melting of the glaciers. So in this way, a best example and one most prominent is the Dal Lake of Srinagar, that is glaciated origin. Next, due to tectonic movement, when a depression has been developed and the water, the rivers that are draining nearby area, the water gets filled up in that depressed area. In this way, the Wooler Lake has been developed. So these are the three perennial lakes: denudational origin, Oxbow Lake; glaciated origin, Dull Lake; tectonic origin, Wooler Lake. Now the non-perennial is the inland drainage. Hopefully the name is familiar to you now, because we have discussed this term and the example during when we discussed about the Indian desert. Inland drainage means that it is basically the water of this type of drainage is there when it is a wetty season, or when it gets the precipitated water. During the dry season, it disappears within the soil structure. And Samba Lake is basically a non-perennial. But one more thing, it is not a freshwater lake. It is saline water lake. Samba Lake is a non-perennial inland drainage, but it is salt water lake. It is not freshwater lake, and because of this we can use this saline water for the extraction of the salt. Now next we'll move to the next classification, next type, that is saline lake. Now saline lakes, these are basically formed due to the tidal action of the ocean, that is near the coastal areas. When the tides move in a zigzag order, at that time the lagoons are formed. And the best example is Chilka, which is there in the state of Odisha, and another one is backwater, which is there. Now Chilka, the lagoon lake or the Chilka, where we are having some sort of tidal activities. That means high tides and low tides are there in this. But backwater, it is a stagnant water, and it is that is the entrance of the oceanic water within the creek or within the inlet of that coastal area. And the Kayal, which is there in Kerala, the meaning of the Kayal is backwater or stagnant water, which is present in the coastal part of Kerala. So these are the two types of saline water which forms naturally. Now the last one is man-made lake. Man-made lake means the lake which has been formed to just reduce the excessive pressure of any of the dam. A reservoir is constructed nearby the dam so that when there is heavy rainfall, the excess water can be released to that reservoir, which will just prevent the structure of the dam. It will not create any sort of damage due to excessive load during the heavy rainfall. So the lake that has been formed from Bhakra Nangal Dam, which is there in Punjab, is named as Guru Govind Sagar Lake. So these are the lakes that is there. Now just see the picture, you will get a clear picture. Now just see the picture that is given over here about the different types of lake. You will get the first type. It is due to the volcanic eruption, when that volcanic cone has developed as a depression and the precipitated water got filled up over there. So the crater lake is formed. You can see the right hand side, it's the Oxbow Lake. It is due to the cutoff from the meandering structure. Then on the next we will get a glacial lake, that is due to the melting of the snow near between the valley regions. Here we will get a picture of a tectonic lake. On the right hand side we get a picture of the tectonic lake. Due to the tectonic movement, the depression that has been developed is being filled up either by the melting of the snow or due to the precipitated water. It is a tectonic lake. Then here you can see a structure of a dam, and you can see this area where the water is being collected. That is the excessive release of the water during the heavy rainfall. So it is an artificial lake, or it is also termed as man-made lake. And here you can see the oasis, that is the inland drainage. Over there you can see this picture. All these are the pictures of the different types of lakes. Now let us move to the next topic, that is related to the benefits of lake. Now obviously it provides water for the domestic purpose. it helps to regulate the flow of river during heavy rain. Now, when there is excessive rainfall, heavy rainfall, what is the resultant? The surface runoff. If it is being channeled towards the lake, then that water will not being wasted out. It will just drain out to the lake, and that water will not create any sort of erosion near that surface, because it is draining out towards that depressed area. So it helps to regulate the flow of river during heavy rain. Now, they prevent flooding, and during dry season, they help to maintain the flow of water. Now, how they prevent flooding? Because when there is an excessive rainfall, if it is channelized to the depressed area for the development of a lake, then it will obviously prevent flooding. And during dry season, they help to maintain the flow of water, means from that the stored water, if it is there, again, if the channel is being done in that order, that during dry season the water that is excessive over there in the lake will get towards the that is the river or the stream area, then that river will get the volume of water for its entire path, where it will able to maintain the flow of the river. Now, next, they can also be used for developing hydel power. I gave one best example of the Guru Gobind Sagar Lake, that is there for generation of hydroelectricity. They moderate the climate of the surrounding. Now, just think of it. When it is extreme summer heat or scorching heat, if we just move towards away from Sahib Bandh area of our district, what is the resultant? The temperature is quite warm, or the climatic condition is quite warm. But as we move around the Sahib Bandh area, we get a pleasant or a moist type of climatic condition or that surrounding that area. Why? Because it helps that to moderate the temperature or to cool the temperature due to the water that is present within that water body. So they moderate the climate of the surroundings. Then they maintain aquatic system. We can do pisciculture over there, so they maintain aquatic system, and obviously it can be developed as a spot of tourism for recreation, and it also enhances the natural beauty of that area. So these are some of the benefits of the lakes. Now let us move to the next topic, that is, we studied about river. Now let's see what are the importance of river system. Now, river system, obviously, the most it supplies water for the agriculture and industry, for the domestic purpose, for the drinking. Even we use the water of river system for the transportation, that is inland transportation. Then comes it's as a food source. Then it is there recreation and the tourism purposes. We extract huge amount of minerals from the water also, and it is a habitat for the aquatic plants and animals. So these are some of the important work of a river system. Now let us move to the next. What is the role of a river in economy? Now, how economy is benefited from the river? Now, obviously, rivers are considered as a cradle of civilization, because you know that our history or our historical aspects are there, that invaders settled out in our country near the river banks. So they are considered as the cradle of the civilizations. That is what the first point indicates, that they remained important through the ages. Then the river banks have witnesses great culture and economic progress since ancient times. That's what I meant. Mentioned. Rivers are integral parts of our folklore and folk songs. Basically, it is very important for our cultural aspect too. Then it is the basic natural source. It provides that is supply water for human purpose, for the human activities like agriculture and industrial activities, even for our domestic purposes also, as well as the river carries sediment, so it deposits very fertile soil near its bank termed as alluvial soil, which makes the land very much productive. The river Ganga, Kaveri, all they produce deltas, which is very much important for the cultivation of the rice or the paddy fields. Then and agricultural dependent on the vagaries of the monsoon. Now, vagaries means uncertainty. When it is monsoon is not certain, it is full of uncertainty. So, when agriculture is basically dependent upon uncertainties, from where we used to meet our demands for the irrigation, we get the water from the rivers. So, rivers are the backbone for the development of Indian agriculture, and basically, river valleys are the main point, or it is a concentrated areas of the settlement or the dense point for the settlement zone, because it is easily available. That is the most important source, that is river, is easily or readily available for its various utilization. Now next, see, now when we are using the river water on such a large scale, so obviously what is the problem that arises? That is river pollution. River gets contaminated, it's get polluted. So pollution is addition to the environment with consequent adverse effects to that environment. Now what are its causes? Obviously, when the fertilizers and the pesticides or some of the waste of the farm, they just move along with the surface runoff, or they just penetrate with the through the layers, so obviously the water gets polluted, and it drains to the river, it gets polluted, that is agricultural pollution. The organic inorganic waste from the industries, when it's drained out towards the river, they contaminates the river water, that is industrial pollution. Then many soil heaps and refuse that is released harmful chemicals that may leach into the rivers when there is excessive rainfall through the surface runoff. Domestic pollution by throwing off all the effluents. Thermal pollution, when the warm water of the industrial get mixed up with the cold water, then obviously it creates thermal pollution. Then acidic rains, it also pollutes the river water. So in this way, and obviously when river water is used as an inland navigation, what is the resultant? When there is a leakage of oil, then obviously it pollutes the river water. So agricultural, industrial, domestic, atmospheric, thermal, oil, all these are the causes of river pollution. Now let us move to the next topic, that is NRCP, National River Conservation Authority. Now first, the most polluted river of our country is River Yamuna, because of a leather industry that is basically adjacent to that river, which is situated in Kanpur. But Yamuna is one of the important tributary of River Ganga, and River Ganga is also polluted in that same order. So in the year 1985, to just treat out the polluted water of River Ganga, Ganga Action Plan GAP 1 Phase 1 was initiated. But it was not so very successful to do the work of conservation. As a result, it was declared closed on 31st March 2000. Now another phase of Ganga was started, and it was merged with the NRCP, National River Conservation Authority. It was merged up, and that gap was merged up for the better correction, for the better assessment of the polluted areas. So now at present there are many cities, they have done the work of pollution, controlling the pollution, but presently they have thought for they have the cities which are adjacent to the river Ganga, continuously they are getting polluted with various type of activities. As a result, this National River Conservation Program has aimed to clean it. Now the plan covers 152 towns located along 27 interstate rivers, and which covers 16 states of India. And out of total, they have already planned 275 schemes of pollution for controlling or for that is reducing the pollution, but 69 have been completed with the positive results. So theoretically, it is there for planning of the 275 schemes, but only 69 has been given the successful result. So these are some of the important features of NRCP, that is National River Conservation Authority. So I have completed the topic. Now it is your part to just jot down all the points the way it is given in your copy. I'm not proceeding with any of the worksheet today. Let me complete the chapter. Then I'm going to proceed with the exercise questions and with the map pointing. If you're having any doubt in this section, means today's class, just without any hesitation, mention it in the comment section. And thank you for following today's class. Have a nice day.